I don't see why we can't simply continue to preserve our farmland through our state farmland preservation program. This program has worked very well for us so far, and this is a way of preserving our farmland for our future generations to come.
Yes, it has been successful, but a great part of that is due to the fact that the township was involved early on. Chesterfield was part of a larger 5,000-acre acquisition program coordinated by the county. Seeing Burlington County's achievement in preserving these 5,000 acres, other counties and townships are now providing stiff competition for the limited state funding available. There is also a cost factor to consider. The township alone has contributed $1.5 million to date toward the preservation of 3,146 acres of land. This raises a very real concern about the amount of local taxes that are necessary to fund such a preservation effort. The township has, of course, tried other options to control growth and prevent the disappearance of farmlands. In 1985, the township changed the zoning of most of its farmland from 1 acre per residential lot to 3.3 acres per unit. This greatly reduces the number of units that can be built and the rate at which development will occur. It does not, however, permanently protect the large contiguous areas of agricultural land. In fact, it eats up larger parcels of this valuable resource. Under the current ordinance, development could eventually fill in around the preserved farmland, transforming the township into a suburban bedroom community with only 3,146 acres of farmland and pieces of unbuildable open space.
And what exactly is transfer of development rights?
Transfer of development rights, or TDR, is a growth management tool intended to balance the financial expectations of a landowner with the community's need to maintain our rural lifestyle. The law specifically allows Burlington County municipalities to adopt TDR programs in order to preserve natural resources, to cluster growth into well-designed, efficient communities, and protect the equity of our existing landowners.
How does it work?
That's what we're about to find out. There are 4 steps necessary to set up any TDR program. 1. The lands to be preserved must be identified. We'll call this the preservation area. 2. An area to accommodate the new residential and commercial growth needs to be designated. We'll refer to this as the growth area. 3. An estimate of the number of potential housing units which could be built on each property based on the current zoning regulations and environmental constraints must be calculated. This figure will become the property's TDR credit allocation. And 4. A mechanism must be created through which the development potential can be transferred. TDR works by transferring these credits from the preservation area to the growth area, allowing residential units to be built on smaller lots in the growth area. As a result, development density increases within the growth area. Resulting lots could range from less than a quarter acre up to an acre in size. Each TDR credit represents the right to develop 1 unit. Developers can buy credits from landowners in the preservation area. The developer uses these credits to more densely develop a property in the growth area. Once the credits are sold, the rights to develop are permanently removed from the preservation area property through deed restrictions. TDR is similar to the Farmland Preservation Program in the sense that the landowner is compensated for his development rights, but continues to own and operate the property. An important difference, however, is that the money used to preserve the land comes from private development rather than public tax dollars.
It sounds good, but how do you assess the township's development potential?
Computerized geographic data and maps generated by overlaying information on soils, wetlands, floodplains, slopes, tax lots, and land use are combined into a single geographic and statistical database. This allows a municipality to estimate the amount of potential future development based on available land and natural environmental conditions. From this data, the Planning Board can approximate how many TDR credits potentially exist throughout the township and how many building units could be accommodated in the growth area.
How do I know how many TDR credits are on my property?
As part of the adoption of a TDR master plan, the township will produce an official list which will indicate how many TDR credits are allocated to each parcel.
What if I don't agree with the number of TDR credits that are allocated to my property?
Anyone who believes his property could accommodate a greater number of dwelling units than the TDR credits allotted to the property can appeal to the Planning Board to prove that an increase in the number of TDR credits allocated to his property is warranted.
What if no one wants to buy my credits?
That's a good question. Burlington County has set up a TDR bank, which could be a buyer of credits during a soft development market.
What exactly happens to a preservation area farm after the TDR credits are sold?
Well, the property in the preservation area would be deed restricted to remain in permanent agricultural use as it will be defined in the township's zoning ordinance. In other words, the agricultural uses would be the same as exist now. The raising of crops and livestock, as well as the building of farm structures, such as greenhouses, barns, and farm markets, for example, will be permitted. The farmer who owns the land will also be able to retain some credits to build additional homes at a ratio of 1 home for every 33 acres for future use. For example, his own retirement home, his children as part of his will, or simply to sell at a later time. Once those credits are used up, succeeding owners will not be able to generate more.